What's up? Brandon Lilly here. I'm going to be talking about something that I think is really kind of a misunderstood idea in strength sports powerlifting, and that's the idea of form and how we coach form. I get a lot of people asking me, and I know that Corey Hayes, the guy that helps me with the cube stuff, get a lot of questions. Well, hell, any strength coach or anybody that has clients will get questions about how's my form look? What can I do to improve my form? And a lot of guys will just check out, one size fits all answers. Oh, in your squat, just take your feet out against the rack. Or, if you're in the sumo, go wider. And while that can work, I'm not saying that's necessarily always wrong, but what you have to look at is the individual. Your body is the best guide to your form, better than any strength coach will ever be. And what I'm saying is, for 6 or 7 years, from different training partners to different coaches, I was told, oh, Lilly, you got to take your feet out you got to go out wider, you got to put your feet against the rack. And what happened was, my squat stayed shitty, the form did, and my numbers were going up, but what I was noticing was my squat kept getting higher and higher. I was getting further and further from parallel, and my hips were sore all the time. Same in the sumo. I'm a conventional puller, and everybody was trying to make me a sumo puller. Oh, it's easier, it's way easier, you get way better leverage, shorter range of motion, blah, blah, blah. And all it did for me was spin my wheels for 3 or 4 years trying to chase a sumo pull. So what you need to do, and what I tell anybody that I work with that's beginner level, is I take them through the lifts and I say, just show me where you're comfortable. On your squat, get under the bar, do a few sets, move your feet around, and show me where you feel the most comfortable. And the reason that I do that is because by the 3rd, 4th, or maybe 5th set, they've found a foot position that feels strong to them. And over the course of time, if they stick with powerlifting or if they stick with a strength sport, I guarantee you they're not going to vary their foot width very much. Unless they, I'm talking specifically for a raw lift or geared lifting, you almost have to go wide, it seems, to maximize the gear. But there are plenty of great squatters that are narrow stance there too. So just take into account what I'm talking about. Over the course of time, their feet will not usually move out very much because that's where they're the strongest. Their body gives them the guidelines. Hey, we feel strong right here. You might need to coach them a little bit on some things, keeping their chest up, keeping their head up, shoulders back, elbows under, things like that. But don't mess with their foot position as much as, I hate it when I hear a coach say, oh, you just got to put your feet against the rack. That's like the laziest answer you can give because, how can you know? How have you looked at this athlete? How many squats have you seen them do? Blah, blah, blah. Same in the deadlift. And in the bench press, for example, everybody knows in competition, or maybe you don't, but in competition, you're allowed to bench with your index finger covering the ring. And everybody will tell you, oh, you need to get your hands out there. It shortens the range of motion, whatever. It's a better power position. Well, for me, my bench will drop 20 to 30 pounds by doing that. I bench with my pinky inside the ring. And it's not for lack of effort. I mean, I did everything for 4 or 5 years. Everything I did was wide grip, trying to maximize that position, and it never, ever felt comfortable to me. So what I had to do was just go back to what felt normal, which was benching inside the rings, and immediately, within a couple months, my bench just shot right back up. So for all these guys that had told me, with good intentions, don't get me wrong, I think everybody that gives you advice most of the time has good intentions. But they were just going based on what they'd been told. They weren't going off of what they were seeing in my training. They were going off of what they had been told. And being a kid or being unaware that they might be wrong, I was buying into the same philosophy. So, sure, I did get stronger and I made some gains, but I wasn't maximizing my gains. And, I think you just need to be open to everything. Don't just take what somebody tells you as law. Take it as a suggestion. Everybody will tell you when you deadlift, you want to lengthen your arms, shorten the range of motion. So for years and years and years, I was sticking my hands right against the slicks. And I always had a problem at the very top. I would miss my deadlifts because my chest would stay rounded in, my shoulders would round over, and I couldn't push my hips through. Well, I started watching some guys who were built very similar to me, and I noticed that a lot of bigger chested guys, broader chested guys, grabbed their hands near the rings. And immediately when I started doing that, I could pull my chest through because I wasn't all cramped in trying to grab on the slicks. I was able to grab out wide and pull my chest through, keep my head up better. And by keeping my chest up and allowing it to come through, my hip shot right through. So, obviously it took some work and some time to get used to, but doing opposite of what I had always been told started working for me. And that's the thing that you need to do. A lot of guys will, find a lifter that they like and they'll try to mimic their style. Like, for me, I think Chuck is one of the greatest squatters ever, but he squats against the racks. I know I can't do that. Constantine is one of my favorite lifters, has a tremendous deadlift. He gets down over the bar, really rounds over, and stays down on the bar for a long time. I am the type of lifter that I grip and rip. So I do what feels natural to me. And for a long time, I would try to imitate other lifters. And, that kind of had me spinning my wheels too, until I found lifters that had similar builds and similar forms to what I was doing. And then I could look at their success and say, oh, well, he grips and rips. Look where his feet are. Maybe his toes are out a little bit. Or this guy, he has a similar squat stance. Let's see what he's doing with his elbows. Let's see what he's doing with his hands. Find people that look sort of like you do on the platform and model yourself after them if they're better than you. That's one of the best things that I ever did for myself, was stop trying to do what everybody else told me to do and stop trying to be just like the best lifters. I started trying to be like the best lifters that lifted like I did. So I hope this helps. I hope that if you're one of the guys or girls that's struggling with finding your form, finding your way, that maybe this will throw a light bulb on for you and you can at least say to yourself, okay, I've given this a good shot. I've tried the best that I can to do what everybody's asked me to do, and it just doesn't work. Maybe I do need to go back to what feels good to me. And I think if you do that, if you train hard, you'll see a lot of progress and you'll be a lot better off.